getting to your question, I think that the problem with Nigeria today and tomorrow, we have not looked at the fundamental problems. If you want to be a giant economy, a great economy, first and foremost, you must address infrastructure, because your competitiveness is dependent on the sophistication of your infrastructure. If your infrastructure is world class, then you become more competitive. But if your infrastructure is not world class, then your competitive disadvantage increases, and as a result, people will prefer to only deal with you with dumping instead of participating in your economy in terms of manufacturing. The so-called telecommunication is actually controlled externally. South Africa MTN controls the telecommunication, at least it controls over 50% of telecommunication in this country when you are talking about telecommunication. You understand? Retailing that we are talking about and wholesale, ShopRite and the Chinese and Indians are controlling the whole thing. So what is Nigerian involvement in all these things? Yeah. But now let's get to the point of so-called rebasing. Do you understand what I mean? What has happened is you take a stock of your economy to know the size of the economy. That does not give you the quantity, does not give you the quality. Do you understand? Just like a big man with a big belly, do you understand what I mean? Big tummy, he can look like a rich man, but a trim man can look a poor man. But when you look at the trim, healthy looking man, you see the difference. Do you understand what I'm saying? So what Nigeria has today is a quantitative GDP, not qualitative GDP. That's why I came here trying to articulate to you the difference between Nigerian economy and the South African economy, if you will allow me. South African power supply is 43,000 megawatts. Nigerian power supply is 4,500 megawatts. Population of South Africa is 52.9 million. Nigeria is 170 million. Inflation rate in South Africa is 5.9. In Nigeria is 7.7. That is not actual. Actual is over 12%. Now, interest rate in South Africa is 5.5. In Nigeria is 12%. Official 25%. GDP per capita in South Africa is $6,000. In Nigeria is 2,688. Unemployment in South Africa is 24%. Actual. Nigeria, nobody knows. A budget, what we call budget ratio. That is what we call fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit. In South Africa, it is 25. It is in South Africa, yes. Budget ratio. It is budget deficit. Yes, it's 4%. In Nigeria, is 1.9. But because of rebasing, it is now 1.05. Now,
so every index you're looking at,
yes,
South Africa seems to be better
off. Of course. So that's why I gave you an example of a fat man and a slim rich man. Do you understand? It's also just like census. When you do a census, you hear that Nigeria is a country is the most populous country. But by the time you go into the population itself, you discover that maybe 70% of the population is elderly, is made up of elderly people, which means that the population is not going to be productive, but it's going to be bogged down by such. Or you discover that 20% is are people with a disability and the insanity and things like that. So what Nigeria has gotten wrong is we prefer to build the economy on paper. The answer, and avoid the reality, because we believe that on paper we become the giant we want to. But do ridicule ourselves with this. Look, this country is the only country in the world with such a population that has not industrialized. And I've said, look, the issue of industrializing Nigeria is easy. It's a question of having that will to do that. Look, I have said it time without number that we can borrow, because in 1792, the first Treasury Secretary of the United States, what did he say? He appeared to the Congress. He said, we must borrow wherever we, even from our enemies, from the thief, from anywhere, to build a world-class infrastructure that we can compete with the United Kingdom. Every country has borrowed. But to my greatest surprise, now that our debt to GDP is moved from 19 to 11, I was expecting, while that of the United States is 106%, that of Brazil is 68%, that of India is 65%, and so on. South Africa is 43%. Why can't we borrow? Since now we are credit worthy, why can't we borrow? Because now these are countries with the world-class infrastructure. They are still borrowing. But why can't we borrow to fix our power sector? No country has allowed power sector to be in private hands. Show me the country that is so world-class. China, power is in the hands of Chinese government. The United States is 50-50. In France, it is 80-20. Just name it, even Britain. But we just say, let's privatize. You can't privatize what people can use as economic sabotage.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Chukwu, in this rebasing that we have done, it looks like the informal sector is not included in the calculation at all. What effect does this have in the figures which we have been given?
Well, it simply means that the economy, the size we have mentioned, the 510 billion, may still be slightly below the actual capacity of the economy. But I think they also include a lot of the sector that used to be informal. Take, for instance, the 1990 base year, they used only 86,000 economic units, 85,000 economic units. This time around, they use 850,000 economic units. And that included any business that could actually be identified in an office or shop. So they have actually expanded the dragnet to include a lot of what used to be informal sector. But having said that, it's almost impossible to capture. They didn't capture people that carry things on the road. Those are economic activities. People who are hawking things on the road, they're economic activities, but they were difficult to capture. But they captured a lot of those shops, women traders, that have shops, fixed addresses. Okay. So the base was largely expanded. And
now, what is the benefit of this rebasing to Nigeria and to Nigerians?
Okay, I would put it this way. If the expectation is an immediate benefit, that might not be the reality. Okay. But there are huge benefits associated with a huge economy. That's what you call the benefits of size. And what that gives you is that, for instance, now we now have a better understanding of the structure of our economy. We now know what to do to stimulate the sector we need to grow. Investors now understand which sectors have huge investment potentials or benefits. And I'll give you a classic example before I come back to it. In 2000, the Nigerian economy had only 300,000 active telephone lines and 450,000 installed Nitel lines, including the fixed wireless as at then. When Nigeria was auctioning GSM licenses, Vodafone refused to bid because the analyst came up with a judgment that the highest volume of lines that Nigerians could have, Nigeria could afford, was going to be 5 million. That Nigerians do not have the economic capacity, they don't have the earnings capacity to have more than 5 million lines. And they felt that the market with 5 million lines was not big enough for them.
And today they're over 120.
And within a period of 14 years, they fixed the number of telephone lines is 120 million. And that's a paradox. Because if the Nigerian economy was as small as it was, we wouldn't have had the 120 million lines. So what we have done is to actually reflect the actual potentials of this economy. And I've told things are beginning to happen. It might not dovetail into the food on somebody's table immediately. For instance, if you watch the FX demand for last week was only 600 million against 800 million we've been seeing since Sanusi was removed. We've seen federal government bond rate trading southwards. Today we are talking about bond 20-year bonds trading at about 13.05%. Foreign investors, foreign fund managers who have funds dedicated for emerging markets are coming back. And they're saying, look, if this economy is half a trillion economy, you cannot ignore Nigeria as an investment destination. And what will eventually happen, what's the benefit, like you said? What the benefit is that ultimately you're going to see a lot of foreign direct investors coming to the country. Ultimately, you're going to see a lot of investors that are going to invest in consumer goods, given the huge population, given the growth potentials of that population, given the huge labor force. Because if you look at the labor force, you have to look at the current labor force and the potential labor force. Then if you look at the Nigerian population, 42% of Nigerians are below the age of 15. That's a huge labor force. Of course, it also creates its own problem of we have to look for employment for them.